All right, we're back.
So when we last left you, we're pretty confident we have about 4 minutes worth of battery left on Tom's phone. Now you can see Tom has been replaced by a little icon, and because we're just trying to save his battery. It's funny because when we started this whole thing tonight, I said, "Hey, I'm concerned about my battery," and I'm glad it wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, now I know, and I'll replace the battery with a new. Make sure it's fully charged, and then if we want to do this again, I'm game for that because
I've
had such a good time, and
that's great.
It's like getting to know you guys. It's really fun. So yeah.
Yeah, happy to hear it. You're right. That's the one thing about YouTube that has always been awkward is it's typically not a live two-way conversation.
Correct.
Maybe there's some conversation in the comments, but even then, you see someone's comment that they left 4 hours ago. You leave a comment back, and 2 days from now they see it, and
oh yeah,
it's not really a conversation like we're able to have here, which is cool. I'm hoping that folks who've jumped in who had questions and could repost their questions, and we can get those questions to you quickly, and not run out of battery here. But
yeah, and hopefully they'll do that. I just wanted to say, oftentimes when I make a little video, it's just totally minimal processing. But if I wait a day to do the processing, often I will not post that video because something is, and so this whole, my little YouTube pipe community thing is kind of a flow. So I'll make the video, I'll take it to a laptop, I'll do minimal processing and then upload it. But if I don't do that, it somehow breaks the flow and it just, I've lost the mood, and there are a lot of videos I just don't post.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, yes, that's great.
I upload them directly from my phone. I don't even bother. I used to upload them to my laptop and do some editing and add some intro music and stuff. And for the same reason, it's not going to if I do that. And so they go out there warts and all now. And that's as good as it gets. When we typically film our weekly episodes, we're filming it on an iPhone. And unless there's a screw up in the first minute, we just go with it. And it's rare for us to stop and start again.
Oh, okay.
Huh? I'm the one that edits all of our videos, and I'm a lazy editor. And so I just bookend the intro and the outro on it, and that's it. And honestly, it would, if we didn't have a relatively hard deadline of weekly video posted by and live 7:30 Wednesday every morning, if that wasn't in place, it wouldn't happen. And sometimes it doesn't, but 9 times out of 10, Tuesday night, it's the reminder that it's time to go ahead and edit.
Yeah, right.
So, Tom, you said something. You mentioned that you're a firefighter, volunteer firefighter.
Yeah, I am. I started out as a firefighter EMT, but our little department here, it's a great department, but there wasn't as much need for a respond from home firefighter. What they really needed was volunteers to drive the big water trucks. Because, first of all, they're not very glamorous, and they don't like to do it. They want to be on the front end of the hose rescuing kittens, And so that niche was open to us older volunteers. The big water trucks are actually the piece of apparatus in the fire service that kills the most firefighters. So because young guys hop in their 55,000-pound truck and they wheel it around like it shouldn't be, and they get into trouble, they flip it over, and then somebody dies, So they have a bad track record that way. So they wanted us older volunteers to do it. And it's great because we don't have to be running 4 times a night to medical calls. 80% of their calls are medical, as are most departments. So we just respond to fires, and usually, house fires, commercial fires. And so there aren't as many of those. So it allows you to get a little sleep. It's a little more doable for us volunteers. There's only 6 of us in our district, and we have 3 water trucks, so 2 per truck. It is made in heaven for older volunteers. So I've actually thought about doing a year's training, weekly training, to create that niche in other fire departments.
That's a neat idea.
I know. So, and taking it on the road. So I know some people in that business doing training and whatnot. But that's kind of a dream of mine, is to take this little niche that we've created, and fire departments are hard to break into. You know, you have to kind of be part of the A crew to be part of the team. And us older volunteers, you know, we just aren't there as much. We respond with every shift, but it was a little hard to break into when I was doing fighting and EMT stuff. So this actually gives us a very workable niche.
I can see that, though, because they're trusting each other with their lives, right? So I think that you're going to trust the guy that you're there with every day,
exactly,
more so than a volunteer. That's interesting, though. It's I hadn't really thought about that. Now, has your fire department ever lost a foundation?
Lost a foundation. We're into the white edge.
It's a fireman joke. Yeah, we have a friend who's a fireman. He goes, yeah, we've in all my time with the company, we've never lost a foundation.
Yeah, right. A brick block foundation. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, yeah. It's those mobile homes, the modular homes that go quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just paper and cardboard, right?
Pretty much, yeah, and little 2x2.
Yeah,
there's much there. Yeah.
So, Tom, being in Washington, are you a coffee drinker?
You know, I am, but I am kind of sensitive to caffeine. Like, I can't drink it after noon, or I lay in bed at night tired as heck, but I can't go to sleep. So,
wow.
So I have to limit my consumption. Now, I did a video once where I tried roasting my own beans.
Oh, that's right, in a popcorn popper or something, right?
Yeah. And it really screwed up my air popper because coffee beans are really tarry and gooey, and when they get hot, and plus it makes a big mess because these little husks go everywhere.
Yes,
get it out on the porch. Yeah, I first time I tried it was in the house. That was a big mistake. So I took it out on the back porch, and then I actually made a video of it. But, honestly, I did not. I thought, oh, my God, the coffee's going to be so great. That fresh, rich, deep. It was not that much better. So, so that was my determination. Now, maybe that's just my taste buds. But so I do not roast my own coffee anymore. And often I will have a cup of quality instant coffee. I hate to even admit it. And I'm kind of now to these little dairy creamers you get in the refrigerated section, the supermarket. I mean, like cinnamon vanilla and Belgian chocolate mocha. I'm kind of addicted. So I don't know. So you can't taste the coffee as much. You could just be drinking battery acid, and it would taste that. So, but there is a coffee culture up here. But everybody loves to diss Starbucks, and it's like, oh, that stuff's like burnt rope, But it's quite a business, I mean,
you add enough creamer to it, and it's a pretty good burnt rope, isn't it?
Exactly. That's it. That's exactly right. But, it's funny how some big businesses have gotten started up here. Starbucks, Boeing, Weyerhaeuser. What's that?
Amazon?
Oh, yeah, Amazon, for sure. I mean, that's the biggest of all right now, of course, and Jeff Bezos, But, they're all basically Seattle startups. So it's kind of surprising to me. I don't know why that is. there's a definite culture up here. I noticed it coming from Denver. We call it the Seattle Freeze. And I think it has to do somewhat with the Scandinavian roots up here. A lot of Scandinavians up here. And so in my trips to Sweden and Norway in the last few years, I really noticed it where, they're, speaking of COVID-19, they're doing an experiment where they were not shutting their entire society down to shelter in place. Their school continues. They're trying to take care of elderly people and keep them isolated, but keep the economy running. And they said that might work in Sweden because it has the highest proportion. This is from a friend of ours there, who we stayed with in Umeå. But the highest proportion in the world of people living alone. So they're already isolated, right? And there's something about Scandinavia where, here when my traveling buddies and I, we're these Americans who are basically like Texans of the world, right? And so we're riding a lot of trains because one of the guys is a train conductor, and so he has this thing about riding trains. And so we'll sit in these 4-seat banquettes where you face each other across a table.
Yes.
This poor Norwegian girl trying to read her book and not pay any, and be a good Norwegian and not make eye contact, be very isolated, not be nosy or anything. And here we are across the table, just like engaging her and making her talk, and just having a great time. And we're probably loud, so
probably.
Probably, and so it was just a huge amount of fun to kind of bring people out of their shells. But people in Scandinavia tend to be kind of socially isolated to begin with. So if it could work anywhere, it could work there.
Yeah, that's to be an interesting experiment. Hopefully it ends up well.
That's right. I know. That's for sure. Are you guys are both working, right? Or are you working from home basically?
I'm working from home, have been for 4 or 5 weeks at this point, but so much of what I do is computer work, is video conferencing, webinars, creating documents, emails, phone calls. And so really, I'm doing the same job just from a different room.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I continue to work. My daughter and her husband and 4 kids live with my wife and I.
Oh, wow.
And so that's, from 3 to 10 and that in age. And there just isn't a way for me to be productive here at home. And so I go to work, and it's very much a skeleton crew there. And so we're not, we're staying quite distant from each other. And I'm doing a lot of webinars. So
okay,
keeps me busy. If I had a space, if I wanted to shoot out here on the back porch, but we're right along a busy road here, the backyard is, and so in daytime it's just super noisy.
Yeah, right.
So not practical for us.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay.
So
we have gotten a couple of questions.
Have you? Okay.
Go through those. Desert Pine Piper asked to ask you, Tom, about the Zane Grey books. How are those going?
Now that Scott asked earlier, are there some videos that weren't as popular? Well, actually, when I read, because I'll stumble upon these stories and I'm just smitten with them. And I want to share them. And so I will actually read in a video while I'm smoking. And it's something kind of weird and different, but really, but it's a lot of fun for me. And there's stories about potlatching up here with some of the Indian tribes in like 1910 to 1920, where they still had the old dances. And there was one told. The story was the guy was a little kid then, and his dad was a chief, so they had to attend a lot of these potlatches. And it was the cannibal dance, which, as you go up coast into British Columbia, is part of their culture, part of their mythology. So they reenact that cannibal dance in different ways during potlatching. Well, somebody got the brainy idea to raid a grave and take a dead woman's skull and during the dance eat off the skull. Shocking. It was just shocking. And so the story was really quite entertaining. And so that's like one I've read. Some Bigfoot stories, you know. We had a forester where I work who came back white as a ghost, and he was quite a dark guy, one Friday afternoon, and he had claimed to have seen Bigfoot out in the woods. So I went out with him. We stopped at the hardware store, got some plaster of Paris to grab some footprints. And it was the middle of summer, so the soil was dry. There really wasn't much. But he did get a couple of prints later on. And he became kind of a star of the Bigfoot community. He had researchers come out and spend a weekend out there, and they'd be pounded on logs trying to attract Bigfoot. So, so yeah, I know. So there's, there's a Bigfoot mythology that we've kind of explored a little bit, and through those stories, and so that's kind of fun, you know. But Zane Grey, I have to admit, I had not read Zane Grey in many years. And I picked up one of his books, and I don't know how read out loudable it is. He wrote those in like varying times, but mostly like World War I era and just past. And so he's got kind of this Edwardian style of writing and a sense of chivalry about women. And he's got his own sort of way of expressing the mythology, the American mythology at the time, which I found pretty fascinating. So, but to read, I said, well, maybe I'll read his entire body of work, but I don't see it happening. Frankly. Some of it gets a little. I'm not finding the right word. Trite. A little dogmatic in philosophy, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, but reading those stories, I did that. I did like 5 or 6 videos of those, and those were not as popular, I will say. But people write in, in comments and say, "Hey, would you read some more from that book?" And so who knows? I probably will. I don't.
What's interesting to me is you completely fell off of my radar, and I have to thank YouTube for that, right? Because of the way they do their algorithm, and it doesn't matter if you're subscribed to somebody. If they don't see you interacting, then they assume that you're not interested anymore. Right. And when those comments mention your name, I'm like, oh my gosh. Where have you been? And I go, when I look, and no, you're still there. You're still putting out videos. So, shame on me that I lost track of you.
Well, and, it happens. I mean, and there's just thousands of videos out there, Scott.
I know. But your content is the kind of content I enjoy, right? Because again, we were talking about how I'm not going to tune in to somebody whose channel is about debating their 5 favorite blends. Yeah, I have my favorite blends, right? I've found them, or the latest and greatest pipe from Savinelli. I've got what I need, right? So I like channels where there's some content that is storytelling or something that makes me think about something, and your videos did that. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I'm a terrible tobacco reviewer. So, I'm really, I'm just like, notes of leather and dried cherry. Really, I'm not getting that. I'm getting old boots, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah. Burning tobacco leaves.
That's right. It tastes like tobacco. That tastes like slightly sweeter tobacco. Oh, that one's icky tobacco. Like that.
Yes, our official rating is I'd smoke it again or no thank you.
There you go. Perfect. Thumbs up or thumbs down.
Speaking of tobacco, Topeka Skating wants to know, what is everyone's favorite tobacco? And I think Tom, we hit on that earlier, and I think it was in the midst of losing audio at one point, and we never got back to it. What is your favorite tobacco?
Well, whatever I'm smoking at the moment, actually. I like a pipe. The other night, I got a little bit of Sutliff's. It's like Field and Stream, it's just the burly, aromatic, lumpy with gel. It's just crap. But it was enjoyable. I don't smoke that stuff hardly at all. But I like Balkans, and actually, Peter Stokkeby Balkan Supreme is my go-to. And early on, I bought like a couple of 5-pound bales of it and stuck it in mason jars. And that was from like 2009. So it's 10 years plus old. And the Latakia is starting to disappear.
Perfect.
But it's at a smooth smoke, and it was so cheap. It was like $25 a pound. And so I have quite a bit of that, although I've given away a lot of that too. I just don't smoke that much. So it's easy for me to give away tobacco. But it's really fun when people say, "Hey, I gotta send you a tin of tobacco. I really love it. See what you think." And so they'll send it to me, and it's really fun to try, knowing that somebody was so generous to go ahead and do that. I mean, that is, it's so great. This community is so great.
Did you ever participate in one of those, I forget what they call tobacco pass, where a box of tobacco was being passed around and you smoke what you like and replace it?
I have never actually heard of that term. It's kind of like swapping, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been done a couple times. It's been a long time since I've seen it done. And unfortunately, it always fails at some point. You got a list of people that are waiting for it to show up, and somebody just, misplaces it, or, worse. Every now and then you get a bad egg that takes advantage of the community, and I think that ended it. But it was kind of a fun thing that was going around for a while.
Yeah, that would be. Huh. We'll have to think about doing that.
It was what was fun about it was you had these guys that had channels that maybe were struggling for content, and they could open the box and record it and find some things in there. And it was always fun to see a guy open, and it's like, oh, so this is what he added to it. He added these 2 tins, and it was fun. Yeah, I always I would fill in the spaces with corn cobs.
You can never have enough corn cobs, Scott, ever.
Yes, I'm going to save that as my ringtone, Tom.
I'll be happy to do a better recording if you want it, because I believe that. And they just smoke so dry, and they're remarkable, and they're cheap. I mean, what's not to like, except for the bit, if you can replace them.
Well, that brings up another question. Someone asked, MH asked specifically, what type of tubing do you use on your bits?
There's a Swedish guy, just when I was getting started with videos, who said, you should, because I was bemoaning the softy bits, they would last about 2 smokes for me. I have incisors. So he said, try vinyl tubing. You can get it at home improvement stores in different sizes, and you can get it in food grade, which you want. And so that's what I've done. And it's like 50 cents a foot. It's really cheap. And so you just cut off the length you want and stick it in a cup of hot water and let it soften up, and then you lick the bit to lubricate it, and boom, on it goes. Sometimes it's a little tougher. You have to really work it on. But I really like the bite. Now, some guys think there's too much there. It's like, it's kind of a mouthful, But the bite has just a slight softness to it, and yet they last forever. They get a little bit of tooth chatter on them, but you never bite through them. And I have a few pipes. See, I like estate pipes actually better than new pipes, and because I like the history, I like the patina, I like the fact that somebody was sitting around on a winter's evening pondering the meaning of life, smoking that pipe. Or maybe even with their buddies, fishing or something and sharing a good time. I find that kind of magical. So I like estate pipes, but sometimes guys will have kind of chewed through that bit, and it'll be, I've got a couple of, I forget, some Italian pipes, but I really like the shape, but one of them is just chewed to crap, and so you slip that vinyl tubing on there, and you don't know the bit is all chewed up.
Sure.
It just gives you a very nice grip, and you don't have to replace the bit. So I've had Tim West do a few bits for me. Sometimes those estate pipes are just too chewed up. But honestly, the vinyl tubing actually covers a lot of sins like that.
So somebody commented on a video of, I think it was George Bruno's video. He was talking about estate pipes, and somebody left a comment about how they're uncomfortable with the idea of smoking a dead man's pipe. And I replied to that, so when you go to a restaurant, do you take your own silverware? Because how many mouths has that fork been in? And he came back with, well, that's a really good point. Maybe he's going to start carrying forks with him now.
Well, my brother calls Goodwill the dead man's store.
Yeah.
I'm not grossed out by it. When I first started buying estate pipes, I would clean them out. I would do a salt, I'd fill them with salt. I'd pour in some scotch and do the whole 9 yards. I've totally stopped doing that. I mean, coronavirus only lasts for 3 days on stainless steel. What are you thinking? I mean, if the guy had a venereal disease, it's not going to last. And anyway, just wipe it with a little scotch or something, But it's all in your head, of course.
It is. Absolutely.
It is. And one thing, just getting back to those vinyl bits, sometimes old estate pipes with those vulcanite bits taste like you're licking the tire on your car.
Yes.
It's just like, blah. So the tubing is very non-flavored at all. And so it covers that sort of sin as well. So
that's good. Yes, because they get that sulfur, the oxidization releases sulfur, which is just not good.
Absolutely. And they're kind of porous. It's just, it's not my thing. So I actually kind of like acrylic bits better, but a lot of guys find them too hard. But again, if you use the vinyl tubing, you're not chomping the acrylic, and the acrylic stays super nice forever. It just
it's interesting what you're saying about the Softy brand. I knew the guy that invented that and owned the company. He also invented a couple woodworking tools, which is how I got to know him. And the company went away, and now there's a new company who claims to be the original. No, they're not. They may have bought the trademark or just re-trademarked it, but they're not the original manufacturer. And those bits that they're selling today are way too soft. I find them to be just mushy as can be. So I've been trying to find some that we could offer on our website. Because like you were saying earlier, the Missouri Meerschaum bits can themselves be a little soft for people.
Right.
But I think that if you take vinyl tubing, or even better, what I've been looking at right now is silicone bits And so they'll be able to handle high temperature if the bit
That's
would get hot, and
now
they're food
Scott,
grade, and yeah.
You bet. I did try, they make, I have a boat also. So you discover all sorts of repair things for a boat that you might not discover if you just were driving a car, especially reliable. So there's this stuff called self-sealing silicone repair tape. And it's 1 inch wide and sold in 10-foot lengths, different colors. You could get really wild if you wanted to. And what you do is you sort of peel it off from its backing, and then you wrap it on itself, and it sort of seals into a solid unit. And it's great for covering electrical connections and that sort of thing. I thought, wow, would that be awesome for a pipe bit? It would be. Because there's some bit shapes that are just impossible to match up with a piece of vinyl tubing. They flare out, or they're kind of bizarre. So too irregular. So I tried it. It was a great idea. I didn't like it. It got kind of lumpy feeling, and there was a little bit of flavor to it. I thought silicone would be totally neutral, but somehow the vinyl seems more neutral to me than the silicone. So, I don't know. To each their own, but somebody should try it. It isn't terribly expensive stuff, so
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of sailing, Trout Whisperer wants to know if you sailed the boat this spring.
I have not. I've been on it. I'll go down there in an evening and just hang out and read and have a little snack, and who knows, maybe make a video. But I haven't been out yet this year, so it's just been sitting at the dock, and I need to do that. And while we're sequestered at home, quote unquote, or socially isolated, I think I will do that and take it out. And I'll probably make a video when I do it.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's something to share. I mean, because I've been all the way up coast, almost to Alaska with it, and it's we've had some adventures together. Yeah.
So Tom, we've been going long enough now that my phone is giving me battery warnings, and I know we started this restart with 8% on your phone, so I'm thinking we probably do what?
I'm at 11%.
Are you plugged in?
Yeah. Well, I'm plugged in, but but it was saying, this is a slow charger. Use the original charger. Well, wherever that went, I have no idea. But this charger has always worked fine. I think it was just so low that it was kind of freaking out.
Okay. All right. Then I'm not panicking because I still have a little bit of time yet.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now we can probably take a risk and go back to video to close out with you.
You want to try?
It's up to you guys.
Well, I don't want to lose your audio.
He's on Skype. He could just click the video button and he'll come straight in.
That's what I was to do.
See.
If he does it, we'll wrap up. It's nearly 11 o'clock here. It's probably time for us to go ahead and do that. So
it's worth giving it a try. So go ahead, Tom.
Okay, let me try it here. It's a Microsoft product, so it should work flawlessly, right?
Yes.
Hey, and that's another Seattle company, Redmond, but I mean it's suburban Seattle.
That's true.
I know. Can you see me? I don't have I'm probably pretty dark.
Nope. We can see. There we go.
A little inside Seattle question for you. There's a couple great Asian restaurants. One of them does what do they call it? With little buns, little steamed buns.
Are we doing BUD as in dog S, not BUG as in gross S? You know what I'm saying? Versus bugs.
No, not bugs. Buns. BUNS. Buns.
Oh, buns. Oh,
dim sum.
Humbao. Yeah, did we lose me?
Nope.
No.
Oh, okay. There are little Chinese bakeries that do steamed buns that are filled with a kind of a succulent meat mixture, kind of barbecue-y inside.
Yes.
And they're called Humbao. And you probably had them at the Pike Place Market, right?
Not there. I've been there. I had to go visit the gum wall.
Well, yes, if you're
Disgusting.
getting in Seattle, that would certainly be my top of my list.
You'd be surprised how much flavor is left in that gum.
Oh, well, no wonder you don't mind an estate pipe.
Yeah, not as much flavor as an estate pipe, but
but not during coronavirus.
Oh, that's right. Don't think of the possibilities. Although it's not stainless steel, so it probably only lives for three hours.
Yeah. Let's see. The other one, another Chinese restaurant there is in a couple railroad cars that are all set side by side. Have you been to that one?
I have not. Asian restaurants here are like Mexican restaurants in Denver.
Sure.
Where you have this regional excellent cuisine. There's a few questionable ones, Casa Bonita. Did you grow up in Denver, Scott?
Oh my goodness. No, I didn't grow up there. My grandparents, my dad is from there, but my grandparents lived there all of their lives. And so we would visit there on vacation. But yes, Casa Bonita or Casa Bonita is my nieces and nephews.
The worst Mexican food on the planet, possibly.
But the best restaurant.
Well, I know. See, it was the experience rather than the cliff divers, Oh my God. So in Seattle, Asian restaurants, you have regional Thai restaurants. You have restaurants from Myanmar. You have restaurants from Laos, versus Vietnam. And then there's North and there's South Vietnam. And there's every province in China would be represented. You have Nepalese restaurants. You have Tibetan restaurants. It's unlimited. It's just that we're kind of a gateway to the Pacific Rim.
Sure.
So there's a lot of Asian influence here. And honestly, one of the best secrets about Seattle is it's just a hop up to Vancouver, BC, where if you've never been to Vancouver, that is absolutely a trip you should take. And you can take the train up there. You can take Amtrak.
And I have not. I have been to Bellingham 3 times. So I was
close.
Really close.
Fitting distance pre-coronavirus. Yeah.
Well, I'll get back up there sometime, and when I do, I'll be sure to track you down.
Absolutely, you have to. Yeah, I'd love to spend some real time with you guys. Because it's been so much fun. So
good.
I totally appreciate you guys asking me to be on here. It's just so much fun. Yeah.
Well, it's been our pleasure. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Well, that was on end with the battery. I'll make sure
for making the best of it. So we probably ought to wrap it up. Again, I just got my second battery warning, and so I'm going fast. But thanks again, Tom, and to the other quarter of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Thank you guys for joining us, for your patience if you were here for the live recording, and if you're here watching the recording, I'll say once again, next week Burly Man 40. Week after that, Glenn Thompson. And Glenn sent me a message while we were on our battery charging break saying that he's excited that it'll be actual breakfast time where he is for Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. So
you'll have to ask him what to eat for breakfast in Australia.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to know that. So, all right. So with that, let's say goodnight, and y'all make it a great week.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for everything. Yeah. Okay.
Again,
bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.